May 26, 1940. The beaches of Dunkirk, France, were about to witness one of the most desperate evacuation operations in military history. Operation Dynamo would attempt to rescue over 400,000 British and Allied troops trapped by the German Wehrmacht's lightning advance across Western Europe. Among those fighting a desperate rearguard action was Private William Billy Thomas Henderson of the 2nd Battalion, Royal Norfolk Regiment, a 19-year-old factory worker from Birmingham, whose journey would take him from the industrial heart of England to the blood-soaked sands of Dunkirk, where he would make the ultimate sacrifice defending his comrades' escape to fight another day. Before the khaki uniform and Lee Enfield rifle, before the Wehrmacht's Stukas screamed overhead and German artillery pounded the evacuation beaches, William Thomas Henderson was simply Billy to those who knew him best, a cheerful young man with calloused hands and an unshakable devotion to his working-class family. Born in 1921 in Birmingham's Aston district, Billy grew up in the shadow of the city's massive industrial complexes, where the rhythms of factory life and the solidarity of working-class communities shaped his understanding of duty, loyalty, and sacrifice. The Henderson family embodied the resilience and pride of Britain's industrial working class. Billy's father, Robert Henderson, was a skilled machinist at the Austin Motor Company, one of Birmingham's largest employers. His steady work and union membership provided the family with modest but reliable income, while his commitment to his fellow workers taught Billy important lessons about collective responsibility and mutual support. Robert had served in the trenches during the Great War, and though he rarely spoke of his experiences, his quiet strength and unwavering dedication to his family demonstrated the kind of courage that would later inspire his son's military service. Billy's mother, Margaret Henderson, worked part-time at a local textile factory while managing the household and caring for her 3 children. Her combination of practical wisdom and fierce protective love created the foundation of security that allowed Billy to develop the optimistic outlook and strong moral compass that would sustain him through the trials ahead. Margaret's deep faith and her belief in the importance of family loyalty provided Billy with the spiritual resources he would need during the darkest moments of his military service. The most important relationship in Billy's life was with his younger sister, 13-year-old Emma Henderson. From childhood, they had been inseparable companions, sharing dreams of adventure beyond Birmingham's factory districts, long walks through the city's parks, and deep conversations about everything from cinema to politics. Emma was bright, curious, and possessed of the kind of fierce independence that Billy both admired and worried about. He often said that Emma was cleverer than anyone else in the family, and that she would accomplish great things if given the opportunity. Billy's childhood was marked by the simple pleasures and modest ambitions of working-class life in the 1930s. He attended the local elementary school, where he showed particular aptitude for mathematics and mechanical drawing, skills that would later prove valuable in his military training. His teachers recognized his natural ability to understand complex systems and his gift for practical problem-solving, qualities that made him an obvious candidate for skilled factory work or possibly technical education. But Billy's real passion was for football. He played for his school team and later for a local amateur club, developing the physical fitness and team spirit that would serve him well in military service. His dream was to play professionally, perhaps for Birmingham City or even one of the London clubs. But he understood that such opportunities were rare for young men of his background. More realistically, he planned to follow his father into skilled factory work, perhaps at Austin or one of the other major employers in the Birmingham area. The Henderson family's comfortable routine was disrupted by the growing international crisis of the late 1930s. Billy's father, who had vivid memories of the previous war, watched with growing concern as Hitler's Germany rearmed and began its aggressive expansion across Europe. The family listened to BBC radio broadcasts about the annexation of Austria, the Munich crisis, and the invasion of Poland with the mixture of fascination and dread that characterized British public opinion during this period. When Britain declared war on Germany in September 1939, Billy was 18 years old and working at a small engineering firm in Birmingham. Like many young men of his generation, he faced the choice between waiting for conscription and volunteering for service. The decision was complicated by his family's financial dependence on his wages and his parents' understandable desire to keep him safe. But Billy's sense of duty and his excitement about serving his country ultimately overcame these practical considerations. Billy enlisted in the Royal Norfolk Regiment in February 1940, motivated by a combination of patriotic duty and youthful adventure. His parents were proud but worried, while Emma was both excited by her brother's heroic decision and terrified by the possibility of losing him. The family's farewell at Birmingham's New Street station was emotional but brief. Billy promised to write regularly and to return home safely as soon as the war was won. Private William Henderson completed his basic training at the regiment's depot in Norwich, where his physical fitness and mechanical aptitude made him a natural soldier. His letters home during this period revealed a young man adapting quickly to military life while maintaining strong connections to his civilian identity and his deep love for his family. He wrote detailed descriptions of Army life, his fellow soldiers, and the intensive training designed to prepare them for combat against the German Wehrmacht. Throughout the spring of 1940, Billy's letters grew more serious as the international situation deteriorated. The German invasion of Norway in April was followed by the devastating Blitzkrieg attack on France and the Low Countries in May. Billy's regiment was hastily deployed to France as part of the British Expeditionary Force's desperate attempt to stem the German advance and maintain the Allied position in Western Europe. Billy's final letters home, written during the chaotic retreat toward the Channel coast, revealed a young man trying to process the reality of modern warfare while maintaining his connection to the family values that had shaped his character. He wrote about the devastation caused by German air attacks, the confusion of military retreat, and the growing realization that the Allied position in France was hopeless. On May 23, 1940, Billy's unit reached the perimeter around Dunkirk, where they were assigned to defend the evacuation beaches, while the Royal Navy and civilian vessels attempted to rescue as many troops as possible. It was during this desperate rearguard action that Billy began keeping the diary that would become his final communication with his family, a day-by-day account of the battle for Dunkirk and his growing understanding of the ultimate sacrifice that military service might require. Before we share Billy's diary entries documenting his final days defending the Dunkirk perimeter, I ask that you take a moment to like this video. Your support helps us continue telling these essential stories of courage, sacrifice, and the human cost of preserving freedom, ensuring that the experiences of those who fought to defend democracy are remembered by the generations they died to protect. What follows are the words of Private William Henderson in his own handwriting as he faced the ultimate test of his young life on the beaches of Dunkirk. Words that reveal both the terror and the heroism of ordinary people confronting extraordinary circumstances.
May 24th, 1940. Today we reached the coast at Dunkirk and I can see the English Channel stretching toward home. It's strange to think that just 21 miles across that water, people in Dover are probably having their tea and listening to the wireless, while here we're preparing for what the officers are calling a fighting withdrawal. That's army talk for retreat, but I understand why they don't want to use that word. The lads are scared enough already without being told we're running away. The march here was a nightmare. 3 days of constant movement with Jerry planes strafing the roads and refugees mixed in with our columns. I've seen things that I hope Emma never has to see. Whole families killed by bombs. Children crying beside their dead parents. Old people who couldn't keep up just left beside the road. This isn't the kind of war we trained for, with neat battle lines and proper military objectives. This is something else entirely, something that makes you understand why Dad never talked much about the last war. My section has been assigned to help defend the eastern perimeter while the evacuation proceeds. Sergeant Williams explained that our job is to buy time for the Navy to get as many lads off the beaches as possible. He didn't say it directly, but I think we all understand that some of us won't be making it home. The Jerrys have us surrounded on 3 sides, with only the sea behind us. It's like a giant trap, and we're the bait. But you know what? The lads are holding up better than I expected. There's something about being cornered that brings out the best in British soldiers. Maybe it's because we don't have to worry about advancing or retreating, we just have to hold our ground and fight. That's something we can understand, something that makes sense even when everything else has gone mad. I've been thinking about home a lot today, about Emma's laugh when she beats me at cards, about Mum's Sunday roast, about Dad's stories from the factory. I keep telling myself that if I can just hold on to those memories, if I can get that part of me alive, then maybe I can get through this. The physical part, the shooting and the bombing and the dying, that's just something that happens to your body. But the important part, the part that makes you who you are, that can survive anything if you're strong enough to protect it. Tonight I can hear the German artillery getting closer. The Navy ships are offshore, but they can't get close enough to the beach because of the shallow water. The RAF is trying to provide air cover, but Jerry has more planes than we do. Tomorrow's going to be a long day. I promised Emma I'd bring her back something from France. I found a small locket in a bombed out jewellery shop in Calais with a picture of a French girl about Emma's age inside. I took the picture out and put Emma's school photo in instead. If anything happens to me, I want her to have it. Maybe it will help her remember that her big brother was thinking about her even at the very end. May 26th, 1940. The evacuation has begun in earnest. Operation Dynamo, they're calling it, though I don't know why. All I know is that ships are arriving offshore and the Navy is trying to get lads off the beaches using small boats and whatever else they can find. The problem is that Jerry can see everything we're doing, and his artillery and dive bombers are making it hell for everyone on the beach. I've never seen anything like what's happening on those beaches. Thousands of men standing in lines that stretch into the water, waiting for their turn to be rescued, while German planes come screaming down to bomb and strafe them. Some of the lads break and run, but most just stand there and take it. There's something magnificent about it, something that makes you proud to be British even when you're scared out of your wits. My platoon has been moved to the ruins of the old fort on the eastern edge of the perimeter. We can see the German positions clearly from here, and they can see us. It's like a deadly game of hide and seek, except that the stakes are your life. Corporal Davies was killed this morning by a sniper. One second he was joking about the French word, the next second he was dead. Just like that. No drama, no laughs here, just there, 1 moment. The strange thing is how quickly you adapt to it. This morning I was shocked by his death, but tonight I'm just grateful it wasn't him. I don't know if that makes me feel. Maybe there's no difference once the shooting starts. Maybe the only thing that matters is the feeling you get on the ground. We've been ordered to hold the officers aren't saying it directly, but I think they're part of the real guard that's supposed to stay keep very busy while the main force gets killed. It's an honour. Not everyone gets chosen to the most important job, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't scared. Keep thinking like a song. Feels like it might be our last night on the perimeter. Tomorrow Jerry will probably try to overrun our positions and push right to the beach. We'll be ready for him. I've written letters to Mum, Dad and Emma, but I don't know if I'll be able to get them delivered. If this diary survives and I don't, I hope someone will make sure my family gets it. I want them to know that I was thinking about them at the end, that their love gave me strength when I needed it most. May 28th, 1940, Jerry attacked at dawn with everything he had. Tanks, infantry, dive bombers, artillery, the whole show. We held them off for 6 hours, but they finally broke through our positions on the left flank. Most of the lads have been ordered to fall back to the secondary defensive line, but my section has been told to stay and cover the withdrawal. I think that means we're not expected to survive this. The funny thing is, I'm not as scared as I thought I would be when this moment came. Maybe it's because I'm too tired to be properly afraid. Or maybe it's because I've seen so much death over the past few days that it doesn't seem like such a big deal anymore. Or maybe it's because I know that every hour we hold this position means more lads get off the beach safely. That makes it worthwhile, doesn't it? I've been thinking about Emma a lot today. She'll be 14 next month and Mum was planning a special birthday party for her. I hope they still have it, even if I'm not there. I hope they don't let my death spoil her special day. Emma's got a whole life ahead of her, and I don't want my absence to cast a shadow over it. The evacuation is working better than anyone expected. The Navy has managed to get hundreds of thousands of lads off the beaches, far more than the planners thought possible. That means this whole operation has been a success, even if some of us don't make it home. We saved the army, that's something to be proud of. Private Jenkins was badly wounded by shrapnel this afternoon. He's only 17, lied about his age to enlist. I've been looking after him as best I can, but I don't think there's much hope. He keeps asking for his mother, and I don't know what to tell him. How do you comfort someone who's dying when you know you might be joining him soon? The German positions are so close now that we can hear them talking. They're probably planning their final assault for tomorrow morning. We've got plenty of ammunition and good defensive positions, but there are just too many of them. Mathematics isn't on our side. I want my family to know that I'm not bitter about what's happening. I volunteered for this, and I knew the risks. I wanted to do my part, to serve my country and protect the people I love. If this is how it ends, then at least it ends with purpose. I'm not dying for nothing. I'm dying so that democracy can survive, so that people like Emma can grow up free. The stars are beautiful tonight. You can see them clearly because all the electric lights have been knocked out. It's the same sky that's shining over Birmingham right now, over our house in Aston. Maybe Emma is looking up at these same stars and thinking about me. I hope she is. I hope she knows how much I love her. May 30th, 1940. This is probably my last entry. The German final assault began at 0500 hours, and we've been fighting continuously for 8 hours. Most of my section is dead or wounded, and the defensive line is collapsing. Sergeant Williams was killed by a mortar round around noon. He was a good man, a career soldier who cared about his lads. I hope his wife in Norfolk gets word that he died bravely. Jenkins died this morning just before the attack began. He was calling for his mother at the end, and I held his hand and told him she was proud of him. I don't know if that was true, but it seemed to comfort him. 17 years old, Christ, what a waste. The strange thing is, even with everything falling apart around us, I keep thinking about ordinary things. About the smell of Mum's cooking, about the sound of Emma practicing piano, about Dad's voice when he read the football scores on Saturday nights. Maybe when you're facing death, your mind tries to protect itself by focusing on the most beautiful memories it can find. I can see the evacuation ships offshore, still taking lads off the beaches. The Navy has done something magnificent here, something that will be remembered forever. They've saved the army, saved Britain's ability to continue fighting. That makes everything worthwhile, doesn't it? All the dying, all the suffering, it was for something important. Private Thompson, the only other lad left in my section, has been badly wounded. I've got him propped up behind some rubble, but he's unconscious and losing a lot of blood. I don't think there's anything I can do for him. We're completely cut off from the main force now. Even if we wanted to surrender, I don't think the Jerrys would accept it. They're too angry about how long we've held them up. I keep thinking about what I want to say to my family if this is really the end. How do you sum up a whole life in a few words? How do you tell people you love them when you know you'll never see them again? Dad, I want you to know that everything you taught me about duty and honour and looking after your mates has helped me through this. You were right that some things are more important than your own safety. I understand now why you never talked much about the war. There aren't words for what it's like to lose your friends and keep fighting anyway. Mum, thank you for making our house a place where love was more important than anything else. When I was scared or lonely or hurt, I could always remember the feeling of being safe in your arms, and that gave me strength. I hope you're proud of me. Emma, my darling little sister, I want you to know that you've been the best part of my life. Watching you grow up, seeing you become cleverer and funnier and more beautiful every year, that's been the greatest privilege I've ever had. Don't let my death make you sad for too long. Live your life fully, be happy, fall in love, have children, do all the things that I won't get to do. And sometimes when you're happy, remember that your big brother loved you more than anything in the world. I can hear German voice getting closer. I think this is it.
May 31st, 1940. This is Private Thompson writing in Billy's diary. He asked me to finish it if something happened to him. Billy Henderson was killed yesterday afternoon, defending our position at the eastern perimeter. He died fighting, taking several Jerry soldiers with him. He was the bravest lad I ever knew. Billy saved my life twice during the fighting. Once when he dragged me to cover after I was wounded, and once when he gave me his last field dressing for my wounds. He could have saved it for himself, but that wasn't Billy's way. He always put his mates first. The German attack finally broke through our positions around 1600 hours yesterday. Billy was manning a Bren gun position when they came over the wall. He kept firing even after he was wounded, giving the rest of us time to fall back. I saw him go down, but there was nothing I could do. The Jerrys were everywhere. I managed to get away during the confusion, and I've been hiding in the ruins ever since. This morning I saw German soldiers going through the bodies, taking personal effects. I waited until they were gone. Then I went back to find Billy. He was still at his gun position, still facing the enemy. I took his diary and his personal letters because I knew he would want his family to have them. I don't know if I'll make it off the beach alive. I'm badly wounded and the evacuation is almost over. But if someone finds this diary, please make sure it gets to Billy's family in Birmingham. His address is 47 Cromwell Street, Aston, Birmingham. His father is Robert Henderson, his mother is Margaret, and his sister is Emma. Tell them that Billy Henderson died a hero. Tell them that he was thinking about them at the end. Tell them that he loved them more than life itself. Billy asked me to tell his family that he wasn't afraid when the end came. He said that all the love they had given him over the years had made him strong enough to face anything. He said that as long as they remembered him, with love instead of sadness, then part of him would live forever. I'm leaving this diary, hidden in the ruins where Billy died. Maybe someday, when the war is over, someone will find it and make sure his family knows what happened to him. Billy Henderson was 19 years old, and he died defending his friends and his country. He was the best of us.
The diary ends here, found in 1947 by French workers rebuilding Dunkirk and eventually delivered to the Henderson family in Birmingham. Private William Henderson never returned to the factory floors of Birmingham. He died at Dunkirk on May 30th, 1940, part of the rearguard action that enabled Operation Dynamo to save over 338,000 Allied troops from the German encirclement. He was 19 years old, with dreams of playing professional football and plans to marry his childhood sweetheart after the war. His sacrifice, along with that of thousands of other young men who held the Dunkirk perimeter, helped preserve Britain's ability to continue fighting and ultimately contributed to the Allied victory that would come 5 years later. The Battle of Dunkirk was both a devastating military defeat and a miraculous deliverance. The German Wehrmacht had achieved a tactical victory that seemed to put Britain's survival in doubt, but the successful evacuation of the British Expeditionary Force meant that Britain could continue fighting with an experienced army rather than having to rebuild its military forces from scratch. The Dunkirk spirit became a symbol of British resilience and determination in the face of seemingly impossible odds. Emma Henderson received word of Billy's death on June 15, 1940, through an official telegram from the War Office. The diary and his personal effects arrived 3 months later, delivered by a French resistance member who had found them in the ruins of Dunkirk and risked his life to get them to British authorities. Emma was 14 years old at the time, facing the loss of her beloved brother while trying to understand the larger war that had claimed him. The Henderson family's response to Billy's death was remarkable for its combination of profound grief and determined resilience. Rather than allowing their loss to embitter them against the war effort, they threw themselves into supporting the fight against fascism. Robert Henderson increased his hours at the Austin factory, which had converted to producing aircraft engines and military vehicles. Margaret Henderson joined the Women's Voluntary Service, organizing support for evacuee children and families of servicemen. And Emma, despite her youth, became one of Birmingham's most effective fundraisers for the Red Cross and other wartime charities. Emma's response to her brother's death was particularly inspiring. Rather than withdrawing from life, she channeled her grief into action, using Billy's diary as motivation for her own contribution to the war effort. She organized her school's fundraising campaigns, wrote letters to soldiers overseas, and volunteered at local hospitals caring for wounded servicemen. Her teachers noted that she had developed a maturity and sense of purpose that was remarkable for someone her age. The Second World War tested fundamental questions about the nature of democracy and the price of freedom. Unlike the complex political situation that had led to the First World War, the struggle against Nazi Germany presented clear moral choices between democratic values and totalitarian oppression. The answer required the sacrifice of millions of people worldwide, including thoughtful young men like Billy Henderson, who chose to risk everything for principles they believed transcended their personal interests and local loyalties. Billy's diary offers us a unique window into the experience of ordinary soldiers who fought not because they had to, but because they believed their way of life was worth defending. His words reveal the intimate connection between personal relationships and public duty, showing how love for family can motivate courage in the face of seemingly certain death. What lessons might we draw from Billy's final communications to his family? What insights does his sacrifice offer about the relationship between individual courage and collective survival? Perhaps the first lesson concerns the power of ordinary relationships to sustain extraordinary courage. Notice how Billy's strength came not from abstract patriotic ideals, but from his concrete love for his parents and sister, his memories of home, and his determination to protect the way of life that had shaped his character. His heroism was rooted in the most basic human emotions: love, loyalty, and the desire to protect those who cannot protect themselves. Billy's diary also reveals profound insights about the nature of fear and courage. He was clearly terrified by what he was experiencing, but he found ways to function effectively despite his fear. His courage was not the absence of fear, but the decision to act according to his values, even when he was afraid. This understanding of courage as a choice rather than a feeling has important implications for how we think about moral behavior in difficult circumstances. There is also, in Billy's words, a remarkable acceptance of his own mortality, combined with a determination to find meaning even in death. His detailed descriptions of the strategic importance of the Dunkirk evacuation, his pride in the role he and his comrades played in saving the British Army, his conviction that their sacrifice served larger purposes. These weren't naive attempts to romanticize warfare, but conscious choices to find significance in circumstances that could easily have seemed meaningless. Perhaps most striking is Billy's ability to maintain his essential humanity, even in the dehumanizing circumstances of modern warfare. His compassion for wounded comrades, his grief for fallen friends, his continued connection to family memories and values. These qualities enabled him to remain morally intact even as the world around him descended into chaos and brutality. The Dunkirk evacuation saved over 338,000 Allied troops, but it cost the lives of thousands who died defending the perimeter or attempting to reach the evacuation beaches. Behind each casualty statistic was a person like Billy Henderson, someone with deep personal relationships, dreams for the future, and values that gave their sacrifice meaning. Yet their deaths were not meaningless. The freedom and democracy they died defending created the foundation for the Allied victory that would eventually end the Nazi threat to European civilization. The Henderson family understood this truth profoundly. In addition to their individual contributions to the war effort, they became advocates for proper commemoration of the Dunkirk veterans and the establishment of memorials that would preserve the memory of battles like the one that claimed Billy's life. They understood that Billy's sacrifice required them to contribute to the causes he had died for: democracy, freedom, and the protection of innocent people from tyrannical oppression. When the Dunkirk Veterans Association was established after the war, the Henderson family became founding members, helping to organize reunions and memorial services for survivors and families of those who died during the evacuation. Emma, who had grown into a remarkable young woman, became one of the association's most effective advocates for veterans' rights and historical preservation. Emma Henderson lived to be 83 years old, long enough to see her brother honored with a memorial plaque at the Dunkirk Memorial in France, and to witness Britain's emergence as a leader in the post-war Democratic Alliance. She never married, choosing instead to dedicate her life to preserving the memory of her brother and his generation. In her final interview, given to the Birmingham Mail in 1995, she was asked what she wanted people to remember about Billy and the Dunkirk generation. "They were just ordinary lads who did extraordinary things," she said, "not because they were naturally brave, but because they loved something more than they feared death. Billy didn't die because he was a hero. He died because he was good, and goodness sometimes requires courage that seems impossible until love makes it necessary." The beaches of Dunkirk, where Billy Henderson died, have been preserved as a memorial to the 1940 evacuation and the soldiers who made it possible. The site draws hundreds of thousands of visitors annually, many of whom are struck by the peaceful nature of the setting and the difficulty of imagining the desperate struggle that occurred there. Yet beneath the peaceful surface lies the legacy of men like Billy Henderson, who gave their lives for principles they believed transcended personal interest and national boundaries. Their sacrifice wasn't just about defeating Nazi Germany, though that were its immediate result. It was about affirming that democratic institutions are worth defending, that individual relationships can motivate collective action, and that ordinary people have extraordinary capacities for heroism when circumstances demand it and love makes it possible. In our current era, when democratic institutions again face serious challenges and our social divisions seem to mirror those of the 1930s, the example of soldiers like Billy Henderson offers both inspiration and guidance. They showed that preservation of freedom sometimes requires tremendous sacrifice, that abstract principles can motivate concrete action, and that love for family, for country, for future generations can overcome even the most powerful instincts for self-preservation. As we conclude this journey through one family's encounter with history's greatest conflict, we might reflect on the continuing relevance of the values Billy died defending. The freedom and democracy he fought for remain works in progress, still requiring each generation to decide anew what these principles mean and how far they're willing to go to protect them. Private Henderson's diary, written in the ruins of Dunkirk during Britain's darkest hour, offers us perspective both sobering and inspiring. Individual courage can transcend class and circumstances. Family bonds can survive even death, and the principles we defend through our choices and actions can outlast our individual lives when carried forward by those whose lives we've touched. The industrial landscapes of Birmingham still produce goods that support democratic societies around the world. The beaches of Dunkirk still draw visitors seeking to understand the price of freedom, and young people still face the choice between comfortable indifference and uncomfortable commitment to principles larger than themselves. In this continuity lies the ultimate vindication of Billy Henderson's sacrifice. Not that all the problems he fought to solve have been resolved, but that the democratic processes and individual freedoms he died to preserve continue to provide hope for each new generation. If this story has moved you, if it has helped illuminate the human cost of preserving our democratic institutions and the personal nature of public sacrifice, please consider subscribing to our channel. Your support enables us to continue honoring these stories of courage, sacrifice, and enduring love, ensuring that the experiences of those who fought to preserve democracy remain alive in our collective memory, not as distant history, but as vital wisdom for our ongoing struggle to build a world worthy of their sacrifice.